Welcome to the For the Love of the Game podcast with your hosts, Jefferson Belfort and Brian Hernandez. This is episode 59, I believe.
59.
59.
Mhm.
59. All right, perfect. Brian, what's up? How are you doing today?
What's up? What's up? I am doing good. It is a rainy Saturday, I think for the 8th Saturday in a row in Jersey. So there's that. But we got basketball, man. I'm excited. Been watching at least my Knicks be pretty bad for the most part. But yeah, man, I'm excited. We got basketball. Next week, though, is the start of the regular season. So I always like preseason basketball. It's not as crazy for me this year because like I love watching like that 16th, 17th man play for like that roster spot. But this year, at least on my Knicks, we don't really have anyone that's worthy of that. So haven't made a draft pick in like 2, 3 years. So like I don't really care a whole lot about it. So that's why I want to see some regular season basketball starting next week. I'm pumped. I'm feeling good. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. The beginning of the season always is a good time because everybody's optimistic. You know, there's
Yeah.
there's no reason to lose hope. At least you remember those years when the Cavs and Warriors were going to the finals every year. That was the only time, like I would say, yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely knew what was gonna happen from the beginning of the season. But
Yeah.
like I've loved that there's a level of optimism in this season and I'm ready for it to go. I'm ready to have this conversation. We're a week out. We're less than a week out.
Yeah.
So that feels amazing to know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's gonna be a lot of fun, man. We got the whole NBA is pretty open. And there's a lot of talent. This is probably like I mean we say it every year, but like especially the rookies coming in and all this, like the talent in the league is insane. So many teams could do so many things. We got Victor going crazy and all that. Like the Spurs are actually looking pretty decent. Are they gonna be a playoff team? No, but like they're gonna snack some wins, and that's gonna be a lot of fun to see. Yeah, NBA is wide open. It's a good time.
Word. All right. So for today's episode, we're going to be going over the some of the odds for this year's awards. We'll also go over some NBA win totals as well. And then we'll finish it up with our finals predictions. Brian, are you ready?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
So, all right, to start it off, we'll be doing the 2023-2024 NBA Coach of the Year odds. The three names, betting favorites to win this award are actually Joe Mazzulla sitting at plus 900. You have a Mike Malone sitting at a plus 900. And then your betting favorite is Eric Spoelstra at a plus 800. Brian, who do you got winning this award this year? Is there anyone in this list, in this top three, or
Mm.
anyone outside of
So I can see. I don't see Eric Spoelstra. I don't see the Heat having a good enough regular season, especially like they didn't make any moves. Team actually got a little bit worse. They lost a lot of guys. Um, yeah, so I don't see the Heat winning enough games for Eric Spoelstra to win it. Now, Eric Spoelstra should have actually won a Coach of the Year at some point in his career. I just don't think this is the year, even though he is still just like one of the best coaches out there. Michael Malone, I could see. Actually, no, I don't see because regardless of the Nuggets having an amazing record last season, they didn't. He didn't win it. Um, the Nuggets are just a team that like we always talk about, like no one really cares about, at least until the playoffs. And even though they're super fun basketball, and so I don't think Michael Malone's gonna get enough respect. And else, yeah, I don't think he's gonna get enough respect. Joe Mazzulla is actually the only guy I can really think about having a chance on this list. I don't know. I think we talked about it last week. I'm very high on the Celtics. Watching a few of their preseason game against the Knicks, like not not high level basketball, not everyone's serious, but just saying like how much talent's actually on this team is pretty impressive. I think they're going to be really good this year. So I see he could win it. The only other person that I'm actually interested in, because it's always like storylines, I I would put money on, I believe it's Adrian Griffin of the Bucks. He's the guy that I would put money on because, like I said, it's a storyline. Think about who won it last year with the Kings and everything. It's a big storyline. They're always so bad. Now we got Dame coming on with Giannis and the Bucks and everything. I think they're going to be very good. It's going to be very exciting. I think Adrian Griffin, especially a first-time head coach, coaching a roster like this, I can see him getting that title. That's who I would put my money on. But what do you think?
It's funny. We were going to say this at the top of this is that we did not discuss this. We did not
Yeah, we
convene
did
on
not.
any of this. But I agree with you on that one. Is that was who I was going to say. Is Griffin seems like I wouldn't say a sure thing, but definitely a good bet to put down on to win this award because, like you said, the narratives that go with it, first time coach, putting together two superstars. It's half of the reason why Joe Mazzulla was in conversation last year
Yeah.
too, right? It's the same reason why Ime Udoka won it the year before that, right? Was having you have that type of star power, and if you're able to put it together at such an early time in your career, it always puts you in contention for this award. So I don't think there's much to say beyond that. I think yeah, like that's my stamp right there of who I think would win it too.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be between those two guys, Joe Mazzulla or Adrian Griffin. It's yeah, I think it's a safe bet.
I agree. All right, now moving on to the most improved player odds. We have Cade Cunningham coming out at 14 plus 1400. Tyrese Maxey, candidate last year as well, plus 1200. And then to the betting favorite this year is Mikal Bridges at a plus 650. Brian, who do you think wins the award this year?
Hmm. So I would not say Macau just because I think he's kind of already at that level of being like that kind of guy and being that good. That I know John Morant won it 1 year, even though he's always been really good, and there's all that controversy and there's a lot of stuff like that always going on with this award. I think Macau, in my opinion, is just already at that next tier level, and he showed it. So I wouldn't give it to him. I would want somebody that is kind of more on the fringe. Tyrese Maxey, I actually like a lot, especially with this whole James Harden situation. Is he going to play on the team? We can talk about. Actually, I want to get your thoughts before I go any further. But as we're right now talking about Tyrese Maxey, there's all those reports saying that yeah, James Harden was going to make a whole stink and fuss at practice, and then we get pictures of him at practice, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's being so great." I know Tyrese Maxey was on the JJ Redick podcast, and he was like, "Oh, I thought it was gonna be this huge stink like when Ben Simmons was there, but instead James is great and this and that, and all this improvement and all that." Since then, that was the only practice that we got reports that was the only practice James Harden attended, and now he is not with the team due to personal matters. Now, is this true or not? Who knows? Or is there actual personal matters? Who knows? But Jeff, I actually want to get your thoughts before I go any further on this whole James Harden situation, and then as well on the potential of Tyrese Maxey without James Harden in this award.
James Harden was like, I thought this was sweet. So he decided I'm not gonna be around. Yeah, it's that's so funny because I did not watch. I think I've been scrolling past it the last couple of days,
Hmm.
seeing that Maxi said something about the James Harden situation, but now see that James Harden has missed two practices. I saw the organization said that they were going to allow for him to explain why he's missed these practices, and there hasn't been a suspension, so maybe there is a valid reason, but it is very, very it, it's the it's the biggest coincidence that it
Hmm.
happens right when he wants to get traded, right? So there's that. But yeah, no, in the preseason games that I have seen of the Sixers, you have seen Maxi pick up the load and continue to look a lot more comfortable in running the offense, being a facilitator. We saw his abilities to shoot and score on his own last year, but now adding the aspect of facilitating and preparing himself for if James Harden's not there just bodes well for the Sixers in my mind. It always is gonna suck if you lose a guy like of the elk of James Harden or the guy that was there before or Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
whenever you're losing talent for nothing and there's no replacement in that specific moment, you're at a disadvantage. So the Sixers suffer from that if this does not get resolved as soon as possible. But I think Maxi has a really good shot at this award, but that's not who I would choose. But I
Ooh.
will let you continue.
So, lastly, I will talk about. You mentioned Cade was the other name. I'm always, I'm always conflicted with Cade. I don't know. I see like his numbers. I saw him. I was a huge fan of him in college. Um, and then I watched him play in the NBA. And like the last two seasons, I know a lot of people are pretty high on him. I don't know. There's something to me, it didn't necessarily pass the eye test. And I don't know if it's just that Detroit team and him playing next to Killian Hayes, who's straight buns and is not good at all. And yet he's predicted to be their starter. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. There's something missing with Cade. Maybe he shows it this year, and this is actually a good opportunity for him to win that most improved. I don't think it's going to be any of these guys, to be honest. I feel like with most improved, there's always one guy, and like we talk about the storylines. There's always one guy that comes out of nowhere and just straight like a bullet train pops up out of nowhere. Like think about someone like Laurie Markkinen. Yeah, he was in that Donovan Mitchell trade. No one thought he was that good, but yet look what he was able to do. I think it's gonna be someone else. I think Maxi's been great previously, not like an all-star level or anything. Maybe he can get there this year, but like he's always been good. But it's always that one person that makes that giant leap that I think wins this award. Um, I just don't think he's gonna be any of these guys. But who do you think?
Oh, so I don't think it's going to be a tremendous leap. I'm leaning on
Mm,
to the idea of the John Morant
okay.
situation, and I think that that person is going to be Jordan Poole. You
Oh,
saw the 41 point
I watched it.
outburst that he did on your
I
team.
watched it.
So it looks like it's going to be a year where he's going to have the green light,
Yeah.
and when there's nothing there's nothing better as a player than to have the green light, and he has the greenest of green lights right now to make whatever shot he wants, right? And they're not prioritizing winning at this moment, right?
I don't
Like
know.
they're trying to rebuild. So I think that that's just going to bode well for a guy like Jordan Poole. I think we've only seen a fraction of his game. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have benefited in staying in Golden State, but I think that his game you have to fit what team you're with, right? Or that you're on. And he fit the mold of the Warriors pretty well. But I think he believes it. There's other people in the league that believe it. Clearly, the Wizards believe it. Is that he's the type of player that, if he's given the opportunity, much like the Mikal Bridges effect, can see a different part of their game develop. And as we just mentioned, 41 point outburst.
Hmm.
So it can be. It could be. I think it's going to be him. I think that's who it's going to be this year.
I could see that. I could see that. He's that man can score like no other. He makes the craziest shots. I just wonder in like later in the year if he's gonna rub some people on the team the wrong way. I don't know if you already saw the clip on Twitter. There's a clip of Denny Advia just like even Jordan Poole is super hot and yeah he's wide open calling for Denny's wide open calling for the ball and yet Jordan makes a shot and Denny's like swinging his arms, looking upset, and this and that. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens more often than not. And maybe there's some chemistry stuff in the locker room. I wouldn't be surprised. But Jordan Poole is very good. He's going to get an opportunity to take his 20 plus shots a game. So we're definitely going to see multiple 30-point plus games from him. Um, I like that. That's actually
He
a good pick.
may. I'll go bold enough to say he may lead the league in points this year.
He
He may
might.
be top five.
He might.
Top
Because,
five, or but obviously the bolder thing is to say he's going to lead it, right?
yeah.
But I think I wouldn't be surprised if he was top five points per game this season.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. It just he's gonna have the green light. The only other person there that would take shots from him is Kyle Kuzma,
Yeah,
and I mean we saw what he was able to do with the green light last season. So, yeah, I don't know. It'd be
exactly.
fun.
Well, it seems like Wizards is starting to be a career revitalizer for people.
Yeah.
We look at like Porzingis; he got the green light last year too. And he had a really good year. Quiet because he's on the Wizards, but he had a really good year last year. And like you said, Kyle Kuzma, all of these guys are coming back to form, just being there. So I do think that he'll get his shot there.
Okay, I like it. It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Right. For defensive player of the year, our top three players, two of them are tied in the top three, and they're both at plus 700, that being Evan Mobley and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And your betting favorite is JJJ, Triple J, at plus 550 for this award. Brian, who do you think's gonna take it this year?
um, I don't think it's gonna be Giannis, even though we know Giannis can do what he can do and everything. I don't know. I don't see it. Evan Mobley. I could see a big jump from him this year. I I don't know. Like I'm just still not crazy about it. Jaren Jackson Jr. maybe comes back and has some crazy blocks again and all that. I'm thinking to somebody outside of this that I really like. One, if we're looking about defense, and I know at the end of the day, when it comes to defense, a lot of people just look at like blocks and steals and all this other stuff. We got the rookie from France, looking pretty crazy, putting up multiple like 3+ block games and all that. We have Chet Holmgren going crazy, blocking everybody and all that. Yeah, these are skinny guys, but like I and I'm thinking about storylines as well. I actually really like these guys as potentials of Victor in there. Already we've been seeing he's been able to do some pretty insane stuff when it comes to defense. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be Jaren Jackson again. I don't think it's gonna be Giannis. Actually, Evan Mobley with this new. I'm kind of turning myself. Evan Mobley with this Cavs team, I think it's gonna be really good this year. He has the potential to win it again. He's always been a really great defensive player. I think it's gonna be one of those three guys. I can't say for sure, but I think it's gonna be that tall, skinny, 7 footer plus, weighing under 200-pound body right there, and Victor. Chet or Evan Mobley? Not a great answer, but Jeff, what do you think?
I I'm channeling my Michael Irving when I think
Okay.
about this. When I look at the full list, right? Yeah, like as you mentioned, Victor is definitely going to be a fun pick if you want to just like say, you know what, screw it. Let's see what happens this first year.
Hmm.
He could win it this first year, right? Like, but there's names on this list of guys that have wanted this award, that have played great in the past. But like I said, I'm gonna channel my inner Michael Irvin, and I'm gonna go with AD. AD wants to play 82
AD.
games this year. Nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? That's what Michael Irvin said. You got to go out there and you got to prove it, right? And if he wants it, he hasn't proven every game. He wants to play 82 games. I don't think he's going to play 82 games. But let's say he does have a year where he's able to be out there and stay on the court. I think that he could vie for this award. We saw what let's omit what happened with the Nuggets series.
Hmm.
Jokic was playing out of his mind. But I mean, throughout the rest of the playoffs, throughout the rest of the season, as they were closing out the season, AD was playing like a different player. Not the same injury prone guy. There was like some real aggression that was coming from the way how he was playing. So I love to see that in him at the end of this of last year. If he's able to replicate that, hey man, I wouldn't say he's my lock, but it would be fun to see him win it. Now, who I really do think winds up winning it this year, I think it might be Joel. I think
Mm.
that this is the perfect year in that narrative for him to be the anchor for this defense. For it without if Harden leads, and Maxi is picking up a lot of the brunt of what it's going to be on the point guard position. We already know that Maxi's not the best defender. A lot of blow-bys are going to happen, and a lot of people are going to be meeting Joel Embiid at the rim. I think that that could lead to something good for him and putting him in contention for that Defensive Player of the Year. And I hope that's who I think
Okay.
would pull it
What do
off
you
this
what
year.
do you think about your boy Nick Claxton? I know he was right there with Jaren Jackson for blocks last season. Maybe he's feeling some type of way, and after seeing that Team USA performance from Jaren Jackson, he's feeling some type of way, like that should have been me. I should have been out there. What do you think about Nick
Well,
Claxton?
as we said, is that these awards are narrative driven. They need a narrative. Nick Claxton has he's not on the NBA's most popular team anymore. Are one of the NBA's most top teams at the time. So it makes it a lot harder for him to be seen and recognized for this, right? Um, Half of the reason why he was in contention was he was on the team with Katie and Kyrie last year, and he put it all together in that first half of the season where you could genuinely think that, hey, like this guy could win it. But as soon as those guys left, it almost felt like Nick Claxton, who? Like, I don't know who that guy. But I will say this: it does bode well when I play 2K now, and I play my NBA and all of that stuff, and you like sim through the years, and you see that Nick Claxton's like someone that in the game they
Hmm.
regard him as he would be in that contention. So maybe he's trending towards that. I still don't think they give it to him this year. Maybe he's in that conversation, but he needs to go off like what he was doing last year because what him and Jaron were doing was impressive. It was also Brooke Lopez as well that
Yeah.
was in that conversation for a long time too. But these guys were averaging about three blocks 4 consecutive games, bro.
Yeah.
And there was a span where I believe both of them had like almost a 10 game span of over 3 blocks a game. So they both were outstanding last year from that perspective. One reason why I always get upset about the war going to Triple J last year is that Claxton is also has the ability to play the perimeter, whereas Jaron Jackson will get cooked, and that has to factor in if you're going to give the year before Marcus Smith, Marcus Smart the award, and he is a perimeter only type of player. And then you have a guy that just, he does a lot of drop coverage. Like that, let's be honest, like Jaron Jackson does play a lot
Yeah.
of drop coverage. He's waiting for them to come to him, attack him, and he's blocking them. It's not that he's getting steals. Like it's more of he's just a physical big guy that's imposing people to finish in the lane. So he's profiting from that. Whereas Nick Claxton played in probably the most difficult defense for a big man to play in, a switching defense where he's supposed to assume defensive coverage with possibly the best player in the game because in switching coverages, they're just fishing for the best person to potentially cook on. And a lot of the times we saw Nick Claxton place into a one-on-one and he dominated. He did
Yeah.
what he needed to do. So um, that definitely upsets me. But I don't. I still think that if we're trending towards like how the awards usually are received, he would Joel Embiid would be in my mind the guy that would get it. Then though,
Yeah, the only thing that makes it tough is the whole storyline aspect of
yeah.
what's a great story. Yeah, that makes it tough for Claxton. That's why story. You got a rookie over there getting a bunch of blocks. Maybe, maybe. All right, what's the next award?
All right. Just spoke of him. It's pretty easy to think about this award, but Rookie of the Year odds, the three players in consideration based off odds is plus 500 Chet Holmgren, plus 350 Scoot Henderson, and I think the first person on this list that is actually a minus is a minus 200 Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama. Whamby. Like it's gonna be easy to get that this year. So Brian, who do you I think this is pretty quick,
Yeah.
but who do you got winning this award?
Yeah, unless there's an injury, it's gonna be Victor. I mean, so far, I mean, everyone always said his defense was gonna be there. His offense is gonna take some time. Offense is
Mhm.
already looking really great. Defense looking spectacular. It's I think it's gonna be pretty easy. The only other person that I can really see someone coming out. So you said Scoot is plus 350, but Chet is plus 500. I think
Yeah.
Chet is
I
the
think
only
we
other
split
guy.
that.
Yeah, that needs to be
Yeah.
flipped. Chet is the only other guy that I can really see this switching. I don't know. The only thing that worries me more about Chet is like we already saw him get injured last year. And so I don't know. Just also watching him play, he's so scary because he's just like I feel like any little movement, his body's just gonna snap. Um, but Chet's great. Chet's legit. But no, I think it's gonna go Victor just because of storyline.
Yeah. I guess the same fear is in there for
It
Victor,
is
right?
for
Too,
sure.
because that slender build, but they both have like the same. These guys aren't possible without Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah.
Like Kevin Durant coming in the league, doing what he was able to do, made it possible for these type of players, right? So I agree with you. I would shoot up Chet to two and Scoot to three. And it's crazy because Scoot, I think, is going to be an impressive player. But it's just like these are like otherworldly type of talents. So it's hard to to push someone that's that good. And then honestly, not even that far down the list. This might be the deepest draft we've seen in a while. Honestly, we
Yeah.
could put it as that. Is you got the Thompson twins. You have Brandon Miller, who looks amazing. You're looking now at Chet, Scoot, and Victor. Like that's just seven.
Yeah.
We didn't even go to Cam Whitmore. The one
Yeah.
I man, I to this day, that's gonna be something that brings me nightmares. That guy was one pick away before from being a Brooklyn Net. But you got this draft was so deep in what it had. So
Hmm.
like, if you didn't win it this year, just know that it wasn't your fault, man. Like this guy, Victor was just he was ordained to win this this
Yeah.
award. And it sucks that it's gonna have to go that way, but it's gonna have to be a prove me like type of thing.
Yeah.
Like kind of how like Zion lost it to Ja. You gotta truly prove
Yeah.
it to win it this year because um if Victor's not missing probably 30, 40 games this season, we already know who's gonna win it, right? So uh, there's that. But I don't even think we need to say
It,
anymore. Victor.
yeah. Is there the awards, because you just mentioned like, oh, missing certain games, because I know, didn't they have that new rule of like if you miss a certain amount of
Yeah.
games you're not eligible for awards? Is that these awards too and not like all NBA stuff?
Yes.
Got
So
it.
it's all NBA and these awards. So it's 65 games. And
Got it.
that's what makes it interesting now thinking back to like when we think about like the awards of like the most improved
Yeah,
players. Um, Guys like Mikal Bridges are always going to be in the conversation for this. Knock on wood, because he's just a durable guy and he's always
for sure.
going to be healthy. So, like, I think that that's something that we're not factoring in
Mm,
into this award. But it's going to be interesting too for the Defensive Player of the Year because if we really look at it, like the players we talked about, a lot of injury prone players that we're talking about,
yeah.
and probably the only one that isn't yet. And I don't want to put it on him that he's gonna get there, but it it tends to be the case with bigger men, and you know these all of the guys that we talked about were big men. Is Evan Mobley? That's the only guy
Yeah.
that I can say as of right now isn't missing up to 20, 30 games at a time. So
Yeah.
that will be something to keep an eye on. It's the reason why John Morant won't be in contention for any of these awards either. To
True.
remember that as well. So, lastly, for our odds is the MVP award. The top three names are, and this guy always seems to be one of these guys. Always seems to be in
Yeah.
this list, and we wonder when is he ever going to crack it. But we have Giannis at plus 550, Luca at plus 400 as the betting favorite. Brian, who do you got for this award?
So just for the listeners, I got you cutting out there for a bit, but it was Giannis, Luca, and Jokic. Um,
That's great.
Starting with Jokic, I it's tough because like he could have easily won it last year, and the only thing that I think that really stopped it was just like him not caring as much, and the Nuggets just preparing for the playoffs and like slacking for a bit, which they did win. So better for them to win the actual championship than actually care about MVP. So I don't know if it'll be Jokic because he's just a guy who doesn't care about it and doesn't actually try to go for it. I don't think it's gonna be Luca because I just don't have any faith in the Mavs at all. Um, I know they got Kyrie back and everything, but like the rest of that roster to me is a disaster. I could see Giannis because he's the type of guy that actually will care for it. I don't think it's gonna be Embiid because I saw a list saying he's next. If anything, I just had to say Giannis. I think he's a safe choice. He's a safe choice. We we feel very strongly about the Bucks being very good this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's already won it multiple times, but like I like the Giannis pick because, like I said, Jokic, I just don't think he's gonna care enough. Even though he's gonna be putting up insane numbers, he's gonna look so good. But Giannis is that guy that goes 110% every single game. Yeah, I'll give it to Giannis. What do you got?
I'm gonna say we don't take no safe choices over here on this side,
Okay.
Brian. We're not taking a safe choice. I'm going with not Giannis Antetokounmpo, but Giannis's teammate. I think it's
Oh.
Dame's year this year. I think
Oh.
this is a year. It feels like this is Dame's version of going to Miami and learning to win and taking over, right? Arguably, I think it's when you look at the worker body, the what they've done in their career, obviously people are going to say Giannis is the better player or is the leader, whatever you want to say about Giannis on this team because it is his team, right?
Yep.
But don't get this twisted. The better player, when we really strip everything away and we look at the skill, we look at what they're able to do, is Dame Lillard. Like I don't know if I'm sounding crazy when I say this, but I think the skill of it is that Dame Lillard, once the season starts to go, is going to take off and show like, hey, like I understand this is your team and everything, but like this kind of gonna feel like the Dwayne Wade LeBron
Hmm.
situation where Dwayne Wade had to say it's your team. That's what's gonna need to happen with Dame because I think that he's just that good, and it brings back the whole Shaq and Kobe conundrum of who was the better player at the time. Yes, Giannis is the most dominant player in the league, but don't get it twisted with the most talented player in the league. And I'm not saying even Dame Lillard's the most talented player in the league, but Dame Lillard's talent has never been with a guy across the court with a guy like that, like Giannis. So I think we're talking about a guy that averaged 32 points last season. And I think he did it on nearly a 50-40-90 split, right? Now
Hmm.
imagine that being magnified on a team that's winning 60 plus games. Because that's why I got them winning over 60 plus games next year. That is an MVP candidate right there. And I think that that guy is the one in my mind that makes the most sense to win it.
I I like it. I'm not mad at it. I think Dame will definitely get some votes. I think he'll be there. I just think that Giannis is, like you're saying, yeah, Dame is more skillful and everything, but Giannis is just like, he's just that guy. And at the end of the day, I think everything that you just said there actually helps Giannis even more because, like you mentioned, like Dame scoring 30 points, whatever, and he was the defense's number one target the entire time. Giannis has always been the defense's number one target. Now NBA teams have to go against both these teams, both these guys at the same time. And like that's only gonna help the both of them. But I think it's gonna start with Giannis, and he's gonna get a lot of that limelight. I think it's gonna be him. The only other person that I actually kind of want to get your thoughts on, I can see a couple years ago. I don't know if he got votes last year, but I know a couple years ago he was definitely in contention and talks about it. Was someone Devin Booker? Now that team, they got so many options. It's kind of the same thing I was just talking about, where yeah, these guys are not the number one target of the defense anymore. They have so much help, and we already seen what Devin Booker could do as a point guard, as a facilitator. Do you think if the Phoenix Suns are as good as some people think, do you think that he could also be in this race?
I think it's the opposite. it's what you just said about Giannis about this situation is when you have the the star power or someone with that great of a ability that is on your same team, sometimes people are gonna just look at it like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna defer to this as the guy that we're gonna contribute the success to. There's still people that are gonna probably factor into their mind that Devin Booker didn't learn to win. He got guys like Chris Paul that helped him to win. He got the Mikal Bridges, the Cam Johnsons. After that happened, he became starting to quote unquote win. Um, they may say that now with a Kevin Durant. I think that this guy just has that talent. Talent will always supersede like the eye test in that sense, right?
Mhm.
Like everyone will see that this is there. But even on the odds, like it already shows, like who's stopping Devin Booker from getting the MVP is Kevin Durant. Like he's literally one above him. So that's where it's like in my mind, I think yeah, like that becomes a very, very interesting like thought, an interesting mindset of like, does Devin Booker proves himself head and shoulders above where Kevin Durant is, where Bradley Beal is? He could. I like for him to prove that and show that, but
Is
it would
Kevin
be a safe bet. I'm not gonna lie. It would be a safe.
would Kevin Durant be eligible? Because we just talked about before. He's probably someone that's not
All right.
likely to hit that threshold.
But then I ask you this question because this was something we spoke about
Okay.
2 weeks ago. If Kevin Durant misses a substantial amount of games,
Hmm.
if Bradley Beal, another guy that misses a lot of games, misses a substantial amount of games, then you have Devin Booker, who also has the chance of missing substantial amount of games. Uh, do is this team the team that we thought it is? Like without that, like
Hmm.
um could a 75 games played Devin Booker be enough to be the one or two in the West? Because if that's the case, then yeah, he has a real mindset. He has a real chance at winning that award. But I don't know if I feel comfortable with saying that.
Okay. I mean the West is so tough. There's so many teams there that are so good. I think they would have the potential to do it. I'm just not like super confident in saying that just because as we know like we have the Denver Nuggets just right there as well. So that makes it very tough. Yeah, I think he's there, but I think you're right. I think the other guys just have a better shot at actually winning MVP. Do you want to move on? And now that we finished all, actually, do you have more?
I was gonna say it's safe to say like you got two guys that are in top 10 odds for winning the MVP. You
Yeah.
should be in a good place, you know.
Hmm.
So uh, I hope they both stay healthy, and we'll see what that really means in these odds as the season progresses. But
Yeah.
hey, man, I'm gonna say this too: plus 3,600 if you get in on Dame Lillard on the ground floor right now. Just letting y'all know, listeners, if you wind up doing it, remember send Jeff a piece.
Hey. I like it. I like it. All right. Do you want to move on to our last piece, last topic?
Yeah. So we're going to take a look at the top five teams on win totals, some of their odds. I'll just rattle through them. We could just go over under, and then
Cool.
we'll go right into the prediction, finals predictions. So those top five teams, I'll go from the least to the highest on this list, Brian.
Cool.
And we'll start off with the the whoa, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Um, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they start on a line of 50.5. Brian, are you thinking they're going to win over 50 games or under 50 games this season?
Um, Interesting. The 50.5. They did a good job at this. I am trying to find what was their win total last season.
I believe they won 49. Not
49.
as sure 100%, but I think I remember
That
seeing
sounds right.
49.
That sounds right. Um, 50.5. So yeah, as listeners, this is the first time I'm actually hearing these odds. So like it I want to say under, even though I believe that the Cavs are a better team this year. I just think that the East and just the NBA in total has gotten better. That I think getting over 50 wins for a team is going to be a lot tougher than usual. So I'm gonna say under. I'm so high on this Cavs team. I think they're a different team than last season, especially with the whole season under their belt. They've rounded out a lot of their edges. I'm very high on them. I'm gonna say under. What do you think?
So it's funny, they actually won 50 last year.
Yeah.
So that two more games, right? They won two more games than we thought. But um, I guess this is a really good line to start the season on. I think, yeah, probably a little regression, 49, 50, 48. That's the space that they stay in right now. Still a really good team. In the past in 2K, they used to be the team that if you simulate, they're always going to win the championship because
Yeah.
I don't know why 2K just does that, but it does that, right? But I think that, yeah, like they have a pretty good nucleus. They need, honestly, we say, because you went with under as well, right,
Yep.
Brian?
Hmm.
Um, we say under, but for the sake of them keeping Donovan Mitchell, I'm gonna flip that and I'm gonna say over. They need to win over 50 games.
It's
They
true.
need to kind of squeeze themselves into that top three. It's gonna be really rough for that. But if they're able to do that by winning 52, 53, 54, 55, that could put them in a pretty good situation. Um, yeah, but we already know who the top two are going to be. It's gonna be really hard to be above those top two. But hey, it's happened. It's
Yeah.
happened where we've seen teams that we expect them to stay high in that rankings, and then something happens and they fall down the standings. So, yeah, I would say over for them now in my mind.
Okay. No, they definitely do need to go over. It'll be interesting to see how the whole Donovan Mitchell saga talk or ends up this season because he didn't sign his extension this season. So I wonder if there's any rumblings going on over there. Well, at the end of the day though, winning solves everything. So we'll see.
That is correct. All right. So the next team is one team that we just spoke about, the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix have a line of 51.5 over and under. Brian, what do you think?
51. And I was just saying it's gonna be so hard to get over there. I'm looking at last season. Oh my goodness. In the West, the Denver Nuggets only had 53 wins.
Hmm.
So what's the line again? It's 50,
It is 51.5.
51.5.
And did you see where they finished last
Yeah,
year?
last year they won 45 games.
And obviously we understood like there was
Yeah,
injuries early in the season, trades that
the
changed a lot of things.
there's trades. Kevin Durant missed a lot of time once they did make that trade for a bit. Um, hmm, I'm gonna say over. I'm high. I'm high in this team. I'm gonna say over. I definitely do buy into the fact that, like you mentioned, of how often we're gonna see all three of those guys be on the roster on the floor at the same time. It's probably gonna be not a crazy amount, but I think 2 is just enough to still look really good. Similar to kind of how Brooklyn was. Um, I'm gonna say over. What do you
Yeah.
got?
I'm going to go over as well. As much as I'm fearful of the thought of it, but the beginning of the season, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, it's all about optimism. The belief is that all three of them are going to be on on the floor at the same time. So I'm going to go with the over. I think, man, they may be the one seed. There's a good chance that they may
Yeah,
be the one seed with winning probably 55, 56 in
yeah.
my mind.
And I'm thinking too,
Um,
because if you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they had 51 wins last season, and they are going to miss John Morant for a lot of the time.
yeah.
So I'm expecting them
25 games.
to, yeah, to lose a lot more, which will make room for the Phoenix Suns.
Perfect. I agree. All right. With that in mind, the next team is the defending, the reigning champions of the league, the Denver Nuggets. They are starting at a line of 52.5. Over, under, Brian. What do you think?
I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna say over. I think that's a pretty quick over for me. I'm just high on the team, and I think yeah they lost Bruce Brown, but I don't think it's the end of the day or end of the world for them. I'm still so high on Jokic. The chemistry these guys have been playing together this entire time. I'll say over.
Yep, I agree. I'm gonna go with over as well. I think that a lot of times people talk about like the championship hangover. Um, but as much as there's championship hangover, there's also the the confidence that comes with a championship. We
Yeah.
we talk more about the hangover and then forget about the confidence that come from it. Naturally, everyone on this team is going to come into the season very confident. They start the season off against the Lakers. I think that's going to be a good test to see where they're at. Even if they lose that game, I just want to see how confident that team looks
Yep.
rather than if they win or lose to the Lakers that first game, to really know what Nuggets team we're going to look at. This guy Jokic doesn't change for anything.
Yep.
Like he's very even keel, so I think we're in for a big year for them again too with wins.
Yeah, no, I'm actually looking too. That home court advantage for Nuggets is pretty
Yeah,
legit. They were 34 and
yeah,
7 at home, but 19 and
that's true.
22 away. So I don't see them taking a step back.
Yeah. All right, the next team is the newly minted formidable duo of Dame Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Really, really strange because we also forget Chris Middleton's still there.
Yes,
but
he is.
but they are starting the season with the line of 53.5. Brian, over, under.
53. They won
Yeah,
58 last season.
yeah,
I'm all right. So a lot of these times I'm like I could see. I mean, they do such a good job of making these lines because it could really go either way. This one I think
yeah.
has to be an over. Now I know you said you made your bold prediction earlier of 60 wins. 60 is going to be tough. It'll be very tough, but 53, I think they got over that. That's easy.
Oh man, I'm over. And I, like I said, man, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 65. I wouldn't be surprised if it
Sheesh.
was 66. I would be a little
Sure.
surprised if it got up to 70, but it wouldn't be out of this realm in my mind. I just have too much belief that it's going to work. Like when you look at the worker body of both of these guys, the drive of both of these guys, I know I've talked about injuries for these other teams, but I have not talked about it in the aspect of this team. I don't know, man. It just feels like the sun is shining on them right now, where you don't even think you you could be pessimistic about the duo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even in my mind, even if Dame goes down for a while, we're talking about regular season, right?
Mhm.
Giannis by himself could
Yeah,
get them to 60 wins.
that's true.
So we're talking about once we go to the playoffs, and if Dame is healthy, it's going to be crazy what we're going to be seeing them do. So yeah, I think it's safe to say like they get in my mind the safe number is 60. That's
Ooh,
60 right now.
Jeff, you're ready to jump out the window for this team.
And you know, and I hate them. That's the
All
saddest part.
right.
The saddest part is I hate them, but it is what it is, you know.
Hey, there you
And
go.
lastly, the uh the top team of this list is the Boston Celtics with their formidable duel of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. They're sitting at a line of actually on DraftKings, they're sitting on a line of 55.5. All right, over, under.
Ah, man. I feel like I can't go. I don't. It's like tough because I feel like all these teams. I'm like over, 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 over. The only one I went under was the Cavs. Um, ah, I think I'm gonna have to go over. I don't know. I'm so high on this Celtics team. I'm just so high on them. I think they're so well rounded. They can do everything. I don't think them missing a center is really gonna change a whole lot. I'm so high on this team. I think they're really, really good. And I think you can find that center production elsewhere. And I think with the addition of Drew Holiday is a big upgrade from Marcus Smart that I'm so high on them. Derek White, my man went bald. He's upgraded. He went up to that next tier. I don't know, man. This team, the Celtics team, I'm up. I'm over for them.
Uh, Sadly, Brian, we're finally going to
Mm.
deviate. I'm gonna go with under. I just don't, man. They're a talented team. They're always gonna be in the conversation. They're always gonna be in contention. We've seen them go to finals. We've seen them go to Eastern Conference Finals. We've seen them win the best record in the East time after time. But now I just come to this point where I feel um no matter what they do, there's just something about this team where they just don't got that dog in them that is ever going to be what separates them from the losers and the winners, you know? And it's crazy to say it like that because they have some really talented players. But like if talented players was the only reason you won championships, you know, there would be a lot of different teams that would have been winning the finals the last couple of years or are winning it in the whole history. Wilt Chamberlain would have won 20 championships if it was just based off talent, but that's just not what happened. So I just don't see it in them that they have what it takes to win in my mind.
No, I definitely agree because there's times where the only thing I see the dog in them, the only person I don't see the dog in them all the time is Jason Tatum. I feel like I,
Exactly.
I need to see it from him more often and more consistently because you do see it eventually. You do see it at times, and it's impressive. And they look at that next level, but you don't see it from him every game. I think you see it from Jalen Brown pretty often, um, and then the rest of the team I'm pretty high on. I could see it, but I just think I don't know. They had 57 last year. They only got better. They have more chemistry. Second year of Joe Mazzulla. I think the odds are in their favor to actually make it over, but we shall see.
All right. With that in mind, Brian, boldly, what is your way too early final predictions?
It is it is tough. I've actually went back and forth multiple times. I think I'm going to end, and this might be pretty boring. This is going to be pretty boring. I think I'm going to end it with um, the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. I think it's pretty boring, but I want to say Phoenix so badly, and I feel like it's because it's like a brand new toy. I have my old reliable Denver Nuggets here, and I'm like a brand new shiny toy in the Phoenix Suns. I need to pick that one up, and I'm like, no, don't be silly. What's been consistent all this time? Jokic is there. Everything, it makes too much sense. I'm going with Denver. And then, as I've been saying this whole time, I'm high on Boston. I I don't think they'll win it all. I'll give it for Denver to win it again. But I think Boston has the ability to bring it up to the next level. Um, I just don't think they can beat the Denver Nuggets. But yeah, that's what I would go with. What do you got?
For me, I know I said a couple weeks ago the Boston Celtics and the Mavs was my prediction. That was just a fun one, right? But here's the real one, right? Honestly, like you said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So with that in mind, I think Phoenix does
Mm,
dethrone the Nuggets to go to the finals, right? Whereas in the Celtics Bucks has been going back and forth for a couple of
has.
years with these teams, but I think that the Bucks found the ultimate piece to put him over the top. This guy was sending people home on his own. Imagine what he does with Giannis. He's gonna be all all playoffs. He's gonna have the whole playoffs sending people home. And for that, I think that in 7 games, probably down to the last shot, Dame Lillard will be sending Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns home. And that will
Ooh,
be the storybook season for the
ooh,
NBA.
and Dame gets his first ring.
His first of potentially many.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not a fan, but I just think that this is just it's starting to wove itself into the perfect story for the NBA.
You see the script. You see the NBA script right there.
Oh, I definitely seen the script. I've seen the script. I'm executive producing. I got my PGA.
There you go. All right, I like it. I like it. I'm excited to revisit this in a couple months at the end of the year, at the end of the season. It'll be fun. Like you said, there's a lot of optimism right now. A lot of things uh, are looking right, but plenty of time for things to go wrong and for people to rise up that we did not expect. Maybe it's the Chicago Bulls. Maybe it's the Hornets and Miles Bridges coming back from the dead. I'm playing, but
What about Ty Jones? Ty Jones,
there you
the
go.
greatest player in the league, bro.
Kai Jones and he's gonna be playing in Shanghai over there. He's
Yeah,
gonna make
very
his way.
soon.
Yeah. Oh
Maybe the
man.
same basketball court as Jack Nicholson. Not, not everybody's gonna get the reference,
Oh jeez. All
but
right.
there it is.
Is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Kudos to a brilliant off season. Happy to be back. Happy to be with you guys along the road as we look into this 2023-2024 season. The season tips off on Tuesday against against the Nuggets and the
Hmm.
Lakers. I believe it's then the Warriors and someone else. I don't remember what the second game is,
I don't
but
know either.
please stay tuned to that game because that is going to be fun. It's going to be the first installment of the year seeing Shaq, Ernie, Kenny,
Ooh.
and Charles. So you're going to be enjoying and you're going to be entertained by that. But remember, after you have all of those laughs and those jokes on Tuesday, come back that following weekend to hear from us about
Ooh.
first week in the season.
I love the plug. I love the plug. Well, actually, so you said the Warriors are playing right after the Lakers Nuggets game. They're versing your predicted almost NBA championships, Phoenix Suns.
Mm.
So
Just give him the chip already, man. Just give him the chip.
all right.
It's time.
All right.
And
So yeah.
we'll definitely have stuff to say after
Yes.
watching that.
Yes, for sure. All right, Jeff, it's been fun. I really enjoyed this one, but it has been episode 59